Have we neglected assistance from any quarter, Watson?
I don't believe you've fully exploited your journalistic connection. I know you value his knowledge and connections.
It may be time to pay him another visit. It's time we made a move, Watson.
Carry on, Holmes. I'll follow your lead.
Wiggins, I want you to exercise your powers of observation.
At the usual rate?
Of course. If you remark any suspicious doings outside of 221B or hear anything on the street, report it to me.
My eyes and ears is yours, Mr. Holmes.
This small portrait is distinctive. Who is it? Or more to the point, what is it?
Well observed. That was and may well be Louis Baptiste Gautier, the terrorist absconded from the Paris cells without a trace in 1857.
Very interesting. An artist has introduced age to the image of the younger man's face, so he might be recognized if he reappeared.
Exactly. My artist drew on the old picture and then photographed his work.
He's a clever craftsman, your artist. Who is he?
Nigel Hemmings, illustrator and portrait artist by training. First rate. No one would buy his painting, so he took up photography.
The posters are very well drawn. Same artist?
Yes, Hemmings says the American police call them mug shots.
Peculiar expression. Some of these must be extrapolations from old photos, adding beards and wrinkles and so on.
Yes, and others are subjects I've seen and described. With a first-person account, he can age a man, get his expression right, that sort of thing.
Scotland Yard could benefit from his skill.
You're right, of course, but would they? I heard Lestrade say Bertillon's system of criminal identification was a bunch of foreign nonsense. He takes so badly to new methods.
Don't I know it? Might I have young Hemmings' address?
He's a staff photographer for the Standard.
I would prefer a less public audience.
Oh, yes, of course. Now, you can often find him in his garret at 14 Montague Street, just across from the British Museum.
Have you had more thoughts about my subject, Charles?
I rather expected a mugshot for reference. By the way, are you certain he wears a beard?
According to my source.
Pleased to meet you, Mr. Holmes. I've heard of you. I'm just trying this film. With you in half a mo.
I believe the young man is a gifted artist, Watson.
You've added the arrow art criticism to your quiver of skills, then?
I know you believe my ideas of art are crude, but I remind you to remember my origins. Art in the blood takes strange forms.
Though not medically attested, certain delusions may also be hereditary.
I saw your work at Friedman's. It's exceptional. Would you make a mug shot of someone for me?
Simple as pie. Let's start with a facial shape. Round, oblong, heart-shaped. You get the idea.
You've a rare talent, Mr. Hemmings. Why not earn your living as a painter?
My art's called unsuitable on Bond Street, Mr. Holmes. People don't want to look at what I paint, let alone pay for it.
So you've settled on photographs?
I'm resigned to it. My photos of accidents and domestic disasters pay the rent. They give me the time for my work.
Would you explain this photo of you with Prince Albert?
Caught that, did you?
Unless you suffer from juvenility, or you've discovered the fountain of youth, it depicts the impossible.
Too true. Not to brag, but given the raw materials, I could make the world think you hobnob with the Queen at Buckhouse.
Reason suggests that you've combined two photographs. But my eye can't detect where one stops and the other begins.
That's the nature of the art. Fool the eye and you fool the mind. Most people, present company excluded, believe what they see, even if it's improbable. You don't take tea with Her Majesty, do you?
I've never had the honour. An oversight, perhaps.
Just let me know. I can make it happen, if you like.
Is your ability to make composite photographs unique?
There's a few chaps with the knack.
Besides the challenge, why do they do it?
Money, Mr. Holmes. I heard there's a hoity-toity bloke up west that's made pots of brass. Sometimes he just makes people look better than they are. For a price, he fixes his clientele in the company of famous persons they've never met. For an additional fee, he supplies the twits with a bogus story that sells the photo.
What's this ingenious box camera? I've never seen one like it.
Called a Kodak. George Eastman, an American, devised it last year. Completely portable, and the beauty part is it uses the roll film he invented. Snap anything, anywhere. Just find the subject and click. There's no exposure control, but it's a fair trade for the fixed focus lens.
So anyone can take a good picture.
The Kodak will change photography, Mr. Holmes, but it's just a tool. It won't make a great photographer. Try it if you like.
Do you mix your own chemicals and develop your own film?
Just my private snaps. I mix up an alkali developer in the sink.
What mixture do you use?
Phenol is a reducing agent, sodium sulfite to control the rate of development, and a pinch of potassium salt to prevent fogging.
Then you fix the photograph with water and sodium thiosulfate.
You know about photography?
Just a few pertinent details. Might we get to work, Mr. Hemmings?
Do you bring my eyes, Mr. Holmes? Otherwise we're just fooling ourselves.
Mugshots will be a crucial investigative tool in the future, Watson.
I'm sure you are right. The issue is, will the police have the sense to use it?
I wouldn't care to predicate its future success on my answer. Once again, we are insufficient for the task, Doctor.
A general description is worthless. You remarked that we might need the riverman's eyewitness account. The devil is in details, as they say.
Though correct, I shouldn't like to know those who say so. Can you recall anything more about your adventure at Cleopatra's Needle?
Nothing that could turn a profit, and more's the pity.
I need your help, Mr. Needham. Will you come with us, please?
Why this time?
A picture artist needs you to describe the man you saw at the Needle. The third man. I wouldn't expect you to do it for free.
Oh, that's all right then. A commission, like. As long as the brute don't know it's me what described him, he had a dangerous aspect.
Brought the eyes, have you? Be right with you.
Does the work of a professional photographer appeal to you, Needham?
What would I have to do, Mr. Holmes?
They'd pay you to look at certain things and take pictures with a camera.
Most of what I see I'd rather forget. Would they pay me to forget?
Not for what you've seen, sir. Unfortunately, no one would pay for that. This is Mr. Needham. He has seen the person I want drawn.
Excellent. You and I will get busy. Perhaps you'll occupy yourself, Mr. Holmes.
Needham, please describe the gentleman you saw in profile at the embankment, the third man.
I can't add nothing to what I already told you, Mr. Holmes.
A tall man with an unkempt beard and a stain of some sort on his left cheek, correct?
That's him.
Perhaps you could give us a moment alone, Mr. Holmes? We'll put something together.
Oh, sorry. Of course. I'll look about, shall I? How would you evaluate Needham's powers of observation?
Acute. He was clear on the facial structure and proportions, cast of the eyes and position of the ears. There are some problems, but we muddled through. Wonder if the stain is a scar.
That's an intriguing thought. May I take the drawing with me?
Of course. Hope it helps.
I believe you did quite well, Mr. Needham.
Mr. Hemming says so. His questions reminded me of things about the gent I'd forgot.
In investigations and life, the right answers are impossible to discover without the right questions. May I leave my card with you?
I'm not his personal secretary, Mr. Holmes.
Nor did I presume it. Perhaps you could send a note to 221B Baker Street when he returns.
I suppose I might. I'll tell him you were here.
I would be grateful for your trouble.
Ah, yes, he was among my candidates. The beard is new, probably false. He has dark hair. You're moving in consequential circles, Sherlock. Colonel Erich Merlendorf, alias Wachthund, the guard dog. He's Prussian, of course. The facial stain is a distinctively horrible dueling scar. Only a fraction of it shows here. It's huge, and he wears it like an angry mask.
Who is he?
Principal agent and factotum of the German Imperial Chancellor, Otto von Bismarck. Fiercely loyal to his employer's interests and protective of his reputation. A very cold customer. What's he doing in London, I wonder?
No good, I assure you. Is he an official agent of Imperial Germany?
Not exactly. But I've invited an old friend to join us who can address that issue. Given your previous remarks and our shared suspicions, I thought he might be helpful. Is that a problem?
No, I'm grateful. Your discretion and judgment in such matters is unquestioned.
Carter, would you come in, please? Sherlock Holmes, Dr. Watson, Fairfax Carter, Home Office Attaché.
I've heard your name from Mycroft, sir. Friedman has filled you in?
As he was able. Might you put us more in the picture?
No. Mycroft has requested secrecy. I shall respect that. Reputations are at stake. The nation's security, maybe. If I fail, you should know all. If I succeed, you will learn no more than you know now. Can we deal on that basis?
I am not entirely without other sources of information, as I think you know. Your commitment to your brother's cause is commendable.
You presumably heard us speaking of Colonel Merlendorf?
I did.
It must be assumed that this Prussian is involved in an operation hostile to British interests. Is it possible he has the Kaiser's blessing and the sanction of the German imperial government?
I don't believe so. I fervently hope not. He would not risk it. He would not do it.
Your reasons?
The Kaiser is trying to curb the power and influence of his bitter rival, the domineering Imperial Chancellor Otto von Bismarck.
Explain, please.
Wilhelm has been courting favour throughout Europe, separating himself from Bismarck's aggressive policies. Discovery of such an operation would undermine his efforts to establish his own authority and demolish the progress he has made in repairing Bismarck's damage. Besides, he is currently well disposed toward his mama, the Empress Frederick, who despises the Chancellor. Finally, he would risk the displeasure of his grandmama, Queen Victoria, and his cousins at this critical time.
If it's not an official operation, what might the Prussians' motives be?
I cannot say with assurance, but I would hazard that whatever he is doing here is intended to enhance the Chancellor's position with the German military and re-establish his dominance over the Emperor.
I see. Merlendorf is Bismarck's creature, not the Kaiser's.
Exactly.
Can you help me gain access to the Kaiser? I know he's in London.
I could arrange an interview. The Kaiser, as it happens, is familiar with your name and reputation, but this would be strictly a personal affair. The government must not be suspected of having any official involvement in your inquiry.
That's understood. You'll inform us of a time and place?
I'll send a message to your lodgings.
What kind of man is the Kaiser?
Not brilliant, but he's keen and energetic, has the regrettable habit of speaking of himself in the third person, convinced that he belongs to a distinct order of mankind, designated for monarchy by the grace of God.
And Bismarck wants to put his thumb in the eye of that belief.
Correct. As a boy, he imitated Bismarck as an act of parental defiance. Now he's alarmed the Chancellor by imitating Frederick the Great. In the end, we believe him fundamentally wiser and more progressive than Bismarck. They'll certainly come to blows, and given your inquiry, may have done already.
Your advice was inestimable. Hemmings gave individuality to a generic face.
I'm not surprised. He's a marvel.
Watson, your florid accounts of our escapades apparently do have some value after all.
Your gift for delivering a kind word, Holmes, remains unequalled, mercifully.
Have you seen the man depicted in this likeness, Wiggins?
I might have done, Mr. Holmes. That's the geezer I'm looking for.
Very like him, I suspect. Did I mention there's a half-crown should you find him?
I'd do most anything for the money, but it's a big city. Do you know anything more about him?
Not at the moment. Wiggins, could this be the man you followed up the Strand?
Could be the bloke, Mr. Holmes. You find him then?
Only this picture. He's not naturally fair, and the beard is false.
He's taken a lot of trouble.
He has a lot to lose. You're still on the case, Wiggins. Don't put yourself at risk. If you spot him, return home. There's a guinea for you when I find him.
I'd do most anything for the money, but it's a big city. Do you know anything more about him?
Not at the moment. Any suspicious persons hanging about, Jonas? Witnessed any dubious activities?
None but the usual suspects, Mr. Holmes. As for questionable actions, I received a tip from old Lady Simpkins, the first in at least a decade.
What's the point? This battle has been lost.